All right, let's talk about one of the most frustrating things ever, the huge gap between the amazing goals we set for ourselves and, well, what actually happens. But what if the answer isn't to just try harder? What if it's all about designing smarter? Today, we're going to build a checklist to do exactly that.
Does this feel familiar? You get the new gym membership. You sign up for that online course. You map out a whole business plan. You are so fired up. And then, life gets in the way. The motivation just fizzles out, and suddenly, you're right back where you started. It feels like a personal failure, right? But what if the problem isn't you at all? Okay, this slide is the core idea. On one side, you've got willpower. Look, willpower is great. It can be heroic for sure, but it's also moody. It gets tired, it gets stressed out, and eventually it just gives up. But on the other side, you have a system. A system isn't a hero, it's just a process. It's built to handle the real world, and once you get it going, it takes almost no effort to keep it running. That's the big shift we're making.
And that brings us to what I call the willpower trap. It's that little voice in your head that whispers, if I just had more discipline. But see, the trap isn't that you lack willpower, it's the belief that willpower is the only answer. It makes you blame yourself instead of your strategy.
I really want you to let this one sink in. Your struggle is not a moral failing, it's a design flaw. You've been trying to run this incredible, powerful software, your goals, on old, broken hardware. It's time we stop blaming the software and finally fix the hardware.
So, where do we even begin? How do we start building this thing? Well, like any good project, we start with a solid foundation. Before we can build anything new, we have to understand the ground we're building on. This is the diagnosis part.
First things first, focus. Just pick 1 to 3 core goals, maximum. You can't do everything at once. Second, you have to define what the bare minimum for success looks like. So not become fluent in a language, but maybe study for 5 hours this week, something you can actually measure. And third, and this one is absolutely critical, you have to audit your past. What have you already tried? And more importantly, why didn't it work? We need that data.
When you do that audit, you're going to start seeing your real barriers. Not vague stuff like, I'm lazy, but concrete things like, I am totally wiped out after my commute, or the kids need me right when I plan to get to work. This list isn't a list of excuses. No way. This is the engineering blueprint for the system we're about to build.
All right, now we get to maybe the single most important design principle of this whole thing. We usually make plans for our best selves, right? The us that's full of energy and motivation. We are going to flip that completely on its head. We are going to design for our worst day.
And this is a concept called Worst-Day Repeatability. The question is not, what amazing thing can I get done on a great day? The question is, what is the absolute bare minimum I can do on a terrible day? That tiny action, that's what keeps the momentum going when your willpower has totally checked out.
Here's a perfect example of an if-then plan. Notice this, doing that 10-minute review isn't a failure. That is the system working perfectly. The trigger, feeling exhausted, automatically activates your backup plan. No willpower is needed, and you still made a tiny bit of progress. It's the exact same idea for something like fitness. The old way of thinking is, you missed the gym, you failed for the day. But the system's way is, you get home late, and that's just the cue to start your short, at-home routine. Suddenly, there are no more zero progress days. This is how you build a system that literally cannot fail.
You know, a good system isn't about avoiding discomfort altogether. It's about choosing your discomfort. You are consciously accepting the small, controlled discomfort of, say, staying at work an extra 45 minutes to study, because you're strategically avoiding the massive, chaotic discomfort of failing that exam and feeling burnt out. You're picking your pain on your own terms.
Okay, so you've laid the foundation and you've designed a plan for your worst day. Fantastic. But now, how do we make sure this system actually sticks around for the long haul? This last phase is all about maintenance and continuous improvement.
Let's talk about what I call Band-Aids. These are your short-term boosts. A quick cup of coffee, a 25-minute timer to get you started. They are not cheating, they're useful tools. But the key here is to see them for what they are. They're like scaffolding you use while building a house, not the house itself. Because the long-term goal is to not need the Band-Aids anymore. If you find you always need caffeine to focus, that's just a symptom. The root cause might be your sleep schedule. So the real project isn't about finding better coffee, it's about building a better sleep system. You use the Band-Aid to get by while you fix the actual problem.
You've got to make this feel real, so write it down. Your tired, stressed out brain should not have to remember all the rules. A simple one-page document with your goals, your bare minimums, and your if-then plans becomes your personal user manual. It's what makes your system truly operational.
So, how much time does it take to maintain this incredible machine you're building? An hour a day? A few hours every weekend? Nope. It takes just 30 minutes. 30 minutes a week is all you need to keep your system working for you, instead of you working against yourself.
And in those 30 minutes, you're just going to do a simple review. First, what went well? What worked smoothly? Celebrate those wins. Second, where did you feel friction? Where did you have to grit your teeth and use willpower? Find that spot and simplify it. And third, can you remove just one Band-Aid this week? Maybe that means getting to bed 15 minutes earlier, so you rely a little less on that afternoon coffee. This is how you make small, continuous improvement.
If you take one thing away from this, let it be this. You can trade those exhausting daily battles of willpower for a few smart, one-time design choices. So I'll leave you with a question to think about. What is the one willpower battle in your life that you are sick of fighting that you can finally end today by building a system?